It's late October. Some of those days when the forest is full of colors, full of vitality, although the smell in the air tells that the cold days are coming. This is the magical season of fallow deer rut. This is the northern side of the Martra Mountains, close to the little village of Nemti. And this is probably one of the best places on earth to take my very first fallow deer buck. This is pure, open range hunt. No fences, no gardens here. The magical groaning sound you hear is the sound of the bucks challenging each other and calling the females to their rutting thrusts. During these weeks the bucks keep their places strongly, and although they are always surrounded by attentive does, it is much easier to approach them to open sight distances. Even if you alert them, they will shortly return to their rutting places. These grounds are very rich in fallow deer. I spent 4 days looking for the perfect shot, to take exactly the one that fits the principles I set for myself. It has to be over middle age and has to be weaker than the rest of the population. Determining the true age of the fallow deer buck is not easy, so my help in this quest was Norbert, the professional hunter of this area. Well, even if the position and the distance was perfect here, the prince in front of us still had to live. He was too young to be taken. I have been hunting for 13 years now. Passing the hunter's exam in Hungary is not easy, but the school is not over when you step out from the classrooms. In fact, the real learning period just starts that day. When I passed the exam, I made a promise to myself. I will keep the traditions of my old hunter friends and go step by step in my hunting career to be able to value all the little bits the forest offers. My promise was very simple. I will walk that ladder and shoot only a red stag or fallow deer buck only after 10 years. And when muzzleloading hunting was legalized in my country, I added a new goal. Shoot the first deer with Flintlock. Now this is what my story is about today. The rifle I chose was my well-proven Pedersoli Flintlock Jaeger rifle, delivering nearly 2,800 joules of muzzle energy. The charge is 110 grains of 2F black powder and a 300 grain real bullet. Deadly accurate and powerful combo. Although the fallow deer was present in the Carpathian Basin in the prehistoric times, it disappeared, to be brought back by human efforts during the 14th-15th century. Hungary has one of the strongest fallow deer populations. We call them in Hungary the dam, based on the Latin name of the game. The male fallow deer is known as the buck, the female is a doe, and the young one is a fawn. It is smaller than the red deer, but much larger than the roe deer. The color in our environment can be pale brown color, but also black and sometimes white. The lifespan is around 12 to 16 years. Only the bucks have broad and shovel-shaped antlers that the buck loses and rebuilds every year. The first 2 antlers are simple pikes, but the 4th and 5th will show the classic form. The size of the antlers usually grow until the buck is 8 to 10 years old.
Nem tudjuk az irányt, feltéríteni.
Hungary is rich in hunting traditions, but in fact all the Central European countries are sharing nearly the same hunting traditions. If I want to be simple, I have to say that we can divide our hunting traditions to two major groups. The first one is what we do before the kill. This is actually about how we hunt and why we hunt. And the second is what we do at the cataflak, how we give respect to the game. Let's start with the first group. First of all, we practice selective hunting, which means that we don't kill everything. We hunt by strict rules and strict seasons. Which means that a rule of thumb, we start shooting always the aged, the weak, the sick. And if we have to shoot the younger ones, this is because we have to maintain a healthy population. We have to keep a good balance between flora and fauna. Second, we give chance to the game, which means that we don't use all the technical advantages that the modern time offers us. Giving chance to the game means that your hunt will be harder, of course. Your chances to take a game will be much less than if you're using a thermal vision or any digital stuff on your rifle. But the experience that you gain from that and the knowledge that you have to get before you actually hit the hunting grounds is much more. And that's important because hunting has to be something different than simple killing. Third, we don't just hunt, but we do care for the game as well. We feed them in winter time because it is our job to keep the population healthy. The other large group of our hunting traditions is what we do after the kill. This is important because we give respect to the game. The cataflak is something that you never miss from the hunt. But let me talk about this later. It's the autumn morning on the hills. Waking up early is not easy for many, but to start the journey in dark and be one of the very few ones that wake the morning is something that well worth giving up the comfort of the bed. These early walks are just enchanting. This is the third day on the hills, and although I saw as many fallow deers as never in my life before, we still missed the one I was looking for. We are approaching a new rutting place that the bucks created just a few days before. They were rutting in a pine forest nearby, but decided to relocate to the fields, offering an excellent possibility to make a well-proven selection for us. For me it was very interesting to see how much damage they do to the ground in just a few days. What used to be a green field shortly became a sea of mud. There are quite a few superstitions in Hungary that became essential parts of our hunting traditions. One is connected to shooting the white or albino game. Although these magical deers are beautiful, if you shoot one, be prepared to lose a member of your family. I would not call myself a superstitious man, but on the other hand, this is something that I would still never do. The movie in front of us was a much better entertainment than in any cinemas, but all the bucks were too large or too young for me, so we carried on with our journey. When the sun comes up, the hills go silent as the fallow deer bucks leave their rutting places to rest a bit after a busy night. The more intensive the rut is, the shorter these periods are. The rutting, or the barcogás as we call it in Hungary, lasts 4-6 weeks, and it really exhausts the reserves of the bucks. They lose much weight during this season. When the rut goes silent, they usually lay down on a sunny hillside to prepare for the next rounds. In these weeks, the bucks gather into herds and try to attract as many does as possible to mate with them nearby their rutting struts wet with urine. These rutting places can easily be recognized by the destruction of the ground, so if you're not successful in one place, there is always a secure other location. Our next location was the heart of the rutting this year, a little valley located between steep mountainsides. Norbert knew that there is a buck for me. He saw it quite a few times before. The hills and the dense woods offer a great chance for a close shot as well. But as we marched like an army, we had to stop for a little intermezzo. A second-year buck and the dog crossed our way. We made a large roundabout to have a good wind, and we approached the final target, the valley, where the loudest bucks were rutting. What I saw that day was something very special, something I will never forget. We closed the gap step by step, hoping that we will find our desired buck. El fogja venni az értékét, hogy dumálok. Gyönyörű. The view was just beautiful, and although my buck was there, I saw it for 1 second, I could not take an aim, so I knew I will have to return. If you're hunting on hilly grounds or in the mountains, you can be sure that you will need the essential knowledge of shooting uphill or downhill. This is even more important if you're using the iron sights and if you're using obsolete rifle like this, with the curved trajectory and low muzzle velocity and heavy projectile. So the basic rule is if you shoot up or shoot down, always aim low. Sounds easy and it works, believe me. But what's the reason behind it? The answer is hidden in physics, as the gravity force affects your trajectory. It forms your trajectory. The steeper your angle is, the longer your trajectory shall be. The closer the angle of your shot is to the vector of the gravity force, the less effect it will have on the form of the trajectory, and the more effect it will have on the velocity of your bullet. Simply saying, when you're shooting your rifle in steep angle uphill or downhill, the projectile will travel a longer path to cross the line of sight at the 0 point, compared to the occasion when you're firing your rifle parallel to the ground. This will always result a high shot, no matter if you're shooting down or up. Simple, isn't it? No, it's not. But believe me, this is true. It will work. So, whenever you're shooting uphill or downhill, always aim low. These are the last days of the rut. The last day for me here, and there is only 1 buck left in the quarter for me. I was thinking a lot about the past days, and I really have to say I was anything but unsatisfied. I was willing to let the question go and pass the first buck to the next year. But before doing so, I still had 1 more chance left. This is the same place on the ridge above the Rutting Valley, where we saw the desired buck. It is early in the afternoon, and some dogged bucks are still singing the love songs to the does. Our wind is perfect, and they sound to be just below us. The position was superb, but the wind was turning and the does felt something was wrong. The rat stopped soon, and our protagonists exited the scene, including our invisible buck. There was no second chance here, so we decided to wait and trust that the bucks will return. When the rutting stops, you realize how silent actually the forest is. But even if the sound is gone, there are still millions of beautiful visual impressions to memorize. Like if the forest was dressing up for a last ball before the fall, creating magic with beautiful shades of yellow, red, brown and green. As we are waiting and cooking our plans for the last try, we hear the increasing sound of the bucks, proving that they are coming back to their thrusts. The wind is good. Now, this is our last chance.
Tartsd a lapátodat. Nem teljesen szabályos, így van.
But we are not lucky. These are the two large and young bucks only. The third one is missing. And then finally, a new sound joined the concert. Approached from the left, in complete silence to start rutting just in front of us. There he was, the selected buck finally. The distance is not more than 40 meters. The angle is 45 degrees downhill. The shot silenced the rat for a second. I felt I was on target, and the game collapsed right at the spot. But as I reviewed the hit, I had to confess it went a bit higher than where I aimed. Although the shot was good, it was a lesson to learn. Now it is time for the second part of our traditions, what we do after the kill. There can never be a hunt that ends without giving the proper respect for the game. When game was shot, we wait 10 minutes before approaching it. we have to let it pass peacefully. We turn the game to the right side, so its soul can pass easily. Then we offer a last bite. This is how we ask for forgiveness after the harvest. The second branch covers the wound. This is signaling the ownership of the game and hides the blood. The third branch is the sign of success, but you can only wear it for 24 hours. It is unpolite to let it on the right side of your head after a day. The harvested game should never be stepped over by the hunter, but always walked around, and it is similarly forbidden to kneel, sit or stand on the game. These are simple but strict rules that we never forget.
Hát, hogy be van esve a hurpasza is.
Egyszer sem mondom, hogy az lesz ráíró, hogy öreg, vagy szarakott. Jó, hogy itt még látszik pár csipke, de itt már szinte semmi nincs. Érdekes bika egyébként, mert nem lehet bekategorizálni akárhova.
So that's how my story ends. Was it worth waiting for more than 10 years? I guess you already know my answer.